As we step into this, I just want to remind all of us that in this teaching, we understand that it's just an atmosphere. It's just a suit I put on for a while. It isn't what I am. It isn't who I am. It might be how I am. But what I really am, what we really are, it was never born. It cannot die. A suggestion from a colleague this week was for me to read the chapter in the Science of Mind text on immortality and what Ernest Holmes believed about that, because he got it. That whatever we really are, the core of what we really are, it can't ever die. It wasn't born. It goes way beyond that. It goes way into a place of brilliance and beauty that sometimes we barely scratch the surface of when we're here in the physical form. And so these things I found from Facebook, okay, really recognize that, and they spoke to how do we really live with both hands on the wheel, eyes wide open while we're here in this physical thing. And so there are 10 things. These came from the dearly departed, okay? Somebody put this together and they said these are the 10 things that those who have moved on out of the physical expression would say to us if we would but listen. And they do, they do. We're getting information from all over the place all the time, right? But these are the 10 things the dearly departed would say to us if we would but listen, okay? And we start with number 10 and we go backwards, okay? So number 10 is how important that person was to so many other people. And most of you may think, well, I'm not that important. I don't have a big family. I don't have a big following. I don't have a this or a that or a whole entourage of people, or I don't work with a huge group. But the truth of the matter is, every time you smile at a greeter, when you walk into Walmart, you change the nature of their day, okay? You give them a reason to be happier, to be wholer, to live more from a place of joy. We are so powerful. How many of you have had the expression of perhaps parenting or being actively involved in the life of a child? If you've done that for a while, if you've been a parent or a grandparent or an aunt or an uncle or a mentor of some sort to someone that age, you've probably affected things like their capacity to go out and live in the world, to pick up a book and read. Think of what a simple gift that is, to teach someone how to read, what the words mean. Years ago I was in college taking a statistics class, and I'm not a mathematician, okay? Not even at H&R Block, I'm not a mathematician. And it was really beyond me. And I was real close to getting a degree, and I realized you're not going to graduate because statistics is going to keep you from happening for you. You are letting that have the best of you. And I woke up one morning really and just was in anguish over this, because I had gone to school for a long time and I wanted to finish and graduate and get done with it. I knew it would be meaningful. And I woke up one morning and the idea was, if you can read, you can do anything. Every one of you has helped somebody by saying, that's what this word that you're trying to pronounce this way, this is what it means. This is how you say it, this is what it means. Every one of us has touched the lives of countless others. You are so important to this universe. You didn't come here on a whim. You weren't an accident, and I don't care what anybody told you, okay? I don't care what anybody said. That was a lie. You were brought here with a mission, with a calling, with the truth that is your own. Yeah. You are so important to so many. Yeah. There's a lady who works at the post office, I won't say which one, and her world is like Sour City. You walk in and you can feel this like, oh, she could hurt somebody. That unhappy, okay? And so my passion is I'm going to go to the library, and I'll go when they're open, and I'll go and see if she has a name too. I won't tell you what her name is either, okay, because she could figure out who she was. And when I'm walking up to the building, I look to see if she's up there in the front. And if she's up to the front, I will buy one stamp, okay, which probably annoys the bejesus out of her. But I will go in there and buy one stamp and say, "Hi, so-and-so, how are you today? You look great. You know, that suit, that ugly postal uniform, it really matches your eyes," okay? You know, and of course by then she's like, "Oh, I'm going to throw up or something," so she gets over it, you know. But you make a difference everywhere you go. You know, I love what we do here because I believe that if we come, and I don't care where you go, you know, my deal is go to any church, but go someplace that feeds you on a spiritual level and try to do it at least once a day, because that's where home really is, okay? But if you come here, or you come to our classes, or you go to Carol's book study, and you get steeped in something that feels good to you, I believe you go from here and you change the entire universe, because you send that love out. We're going to talk about more of that in just a minute. It's powerful. You change the world for others by changing the world for yourself. And so number 9. Here's number 9. We don't have a countdown up there. I didn't get to that, okay? How easy life was when they stopped struggling, when they stopped resisting. Have you noticed? I love what Lou said about being a perfectionist. I'm not one, but I don't know. Maybe from what he said, maybe I am. Okay? There's an amazing thing that I heard on some of the Abraham CDs from the teachings of Jerry and Esther Hicks. And the story goes that this woman was way up in the corporate world. She had this, couple $100,000 a year job. She worked for this corporate Fortune 500 company. And she hated the job. But she just couldn't get past that place of thinking, what am I going to be if I'm not this? If I'm not doing this job, this is what I am. This is who I am. If I leave this, where will I be? Who will I be? Where will I go? What will I do? Well, it took her years. She finally broke free from that. And she made the decision. She gave herself permission to get the out of there. Okay? She made the decision to never do that work again. Okay? Well, as soon as she made that decision and got clear with herself, the phone rang, and it was like 5 other Fortune 500 companies who wanted to pay her 3 times and 5 times and 9 times what she had been making. And so she came to Esther and sat in the chair and asked, Abraham, why? Why would they show up then? It's because you quit struggling with it. Stop struggling with the stuff you are struggling with. Make peace with it. Befriend it. Reach out to it and pull it to you and love on it. Okay? And it will melt before your very eyes. And things will get easy. Peasy, even. Number 8. That all of their prayers and thoughts were heard. Do you know that? Do you really know that? I believe that things move with the speed of light sometimes. And whenever I am faced with something and I don't know what to do, I usually do this in the journal form, okay? But I will sit down and go, I need help. This is not frickin' next year. This is now, and I need help, okay? I'm not saying do it for me. I'm saying wind me up. Give me the ideas I need to have and send me in the direction I need to go in. And I'm telling you that it is almost instantaneous. Okay? Everything we are thinking, everything we are saying, everything we are praying, everything we are doing is going out into the universe. And the universe is always responding to it. One of my favorite ways to watch the response is to watch wildlife, is to watch animals. I had an experience a couple of years ago when I was doing something over at the center in Asheville in the summertime. And it was like everywhere I went, there were dozens and dozens and dozens of moths. I'm not a tremendous fan of moths, but I respect the life and everything. I walked out my back door one day, and these moths just took off. I didn't even see them until I got almost in the middle of them. I had the same experience. I walked up the steps at the center in Asheville, and from all the bushes and the beautiful flowers they've got planted there, moths just took off. So I had to go back and look. I have a couple of websites I look at that are based in Native American teaching that talk about what different species mean. Moths are powerful. They're powerful. They are about how we relate to something. What is the caliber of our touch? How do we reach out and embrace things. Think about how delicate a moth is. You look at them and you think, I couldn't touch that, it would fall apart. Okay? This year it's groundhogs, and they're really interesting. And I can tell you what, from one place to another place on the way home today, I will see at least 5. I will see at least 5. It could be closer to 10. They're all over the place. So I don't know. I don't know how that happens, but I do trust that. And when I see things like that, I look it up and I see what meaning does that have for me? What meaning does it have for me that we haven't had a really nice sunny day in years? No, that's not quite what I mean. You know, that which we are looking for, it's always looking for us. Okay? Yeah, our prayers are heard all the time. Number 7, there's no such thing as a coincidence. There's no such thing as a coincidence. We are living and moving, according to the founder of this teaching, in this thing that is like a thought atmosphere. It's just a big soup. Okay? And so everything that is going on brings with it a response. Everything is causal, and everything that comes back, cause always precipitates effect. So we're always experiencing things, and they look like coincidences. Okay? Have you ever walked into a store and maybe there's somebody you just didn't want to deal with, and there they were? Yeah. Okay. Isn't that sweet? I know. It's really. I have some sarcastic responses for that. Okay. If any of you would like to know what they are later. But there's always this issuing and this coming back, and this issuing and this coming back. There is no such thing as a coincidence. There's no such thing as a coincidence. It is God's stuff. It is what you are of. If there is something you seriously do not want to see in your life, then you best love on it, because otherwise it's going to show up big time. Okay? Number 6, how far the ripples of our kindnesses actually spread. And I love this. You know, we've proven this with science. The Institute of Heart Math, I know some of you are aware of their work. Greg Braden talks about their work. And here's what he says. When we have a feeling in our hearts, we are creating electrical and magnetic waves inside of our bodies. Those waves extend out from us and out into the world. And research shows that they go not just a few feet, not just a few hundred feet, say, to the parking lot, but they can go miles. Have you ever had the experience of holding someone in your heart, someone perhaps that you haven't seen in a long time, or maybe you wondered about, and all of a sudden the phone rings? Boom. Okay? You know, it's just powerful. It's powerful what we do. We are always sending things out. We're always sending things out. Again, I think that whenever we immerse ourselves in a place of love, in a place of feeling good, we carry that stuff out there and we up-level the whole planet. Yeah. The kindnesses you are live beyond you. The kindnesses Liz Trofield was will never cease to be. Her physical body may be gone. Her brilliance cannot die. It goes on forever, and part of it lives through those goodnesses, those kindnesses. Number 5, so we're more than halfway here. What really was important? 3 things: happiness, friends, and love. It doesn't matter what you wear to church. I don't care what kind of car you have in the parking lot. It doesn't matter to me if it runs well or not. What matters is where we live, how we live. I really believe what Lou was reading, I believe what we teach in this movement more than anything is to live consciously. What does that mean? It means to live from a place of a most expanded place of awareness, because your consciousness is your awareness. What is tapping against the outer edges of your understanding? That is your awareness. That is your intuition. That is God speaking to you. If you are thinking, gosh, this would be really cool, but I don't know how to make that happen, okay? That is God talking to you, saying, go do it. This is for you. I have given you this idea. I think that if we pursue happiness And in that, a happiness that comes from a place of really feeling like we are in the right place, doing what we came here to do, living from a place of the heart. Yeah, I believe that happiness just has to show up. It's powerful. Number 4, that any and all of their dreams could have come true. Rhonda Byrne tells us this in The Secret. Ernest Holm tells us this in Science of Mind. We have a saying in this teaching, treat and move your feet. And that sounds kind of strange. We call our form of effective prayer treatment, or spiritual mind treatment. So we say pray and then get up and take action. Don't just sit there and gaze at your navel. Because it might come, but it might be a hell of a long time coming. Okay? God, I want a different job. Well then, act as if and go find a newspaper. Many of you know that I have a background for many years in 12-step recovery, and years and years ago at an NA convention there was a gal telling her story, and she was hysterical. She had been in recovery for many, many years, and she was speaking to a room of about probably 700 or 800 people. And so she'd been in recovery for a little while, and she was struggling with some things, and she needed to move. She was not happy where she was living. It was not conducive to where she was living and what she was trying to do with her life. And so she was praying for another place to live, an apartment. And then she was talking to her sponsor, and a sponsor in 12-step recovery is just somebody who's been doing it a little longer and, wants to help somebody who hasn't been doing it very long. Okay? Just really somebody to listen. So she went to her sponsor, and her sponsor said, so you're praying for another place to live? And when you go home from here today, I want you to start putting your stuff in boxes. Okay? I want you to start packing your stuff, because your apartment is going to show up. Now, I used to think that was crap, pardon me, okay? So I can say that word if I want to here. Until I watched a friend of mine live it. This was a friend of mine who was a single dad. He had a couple of years in recovery, but not a whole lot. And he called me up at like 11 o'clock one night, and he said, so my daughter and I, she was about 2 or 3 years old, we need to sleep on your floor. And I was kind of like, well, that's okay as long as you're not using drugs. So they showed up, and I got to babysit his daughter. I was actually pregnant with one of my kids, so it was, it was like big mommyville, fun stuff, okay, whatever, And he worked, he had a job during the week, and he came home on Friday, and he said, so I'm going to take her, and I'm going to go over to Asheville, and I'm going to spend the night tonight with a friend of ours over there, and I'll be back tomorrow afternoon. When I come back, I'll have a place to live, and I'll have a job in Asheville. And I just thought, hey, you so full of you know what about you know what, okay? And watched him go out the door, and I said, I didn't have the heart to tell him he was just wrong, okay? It was going to be hard to find a job in Asheville. It was going to be hard to find a place to live. It was really going to be a challenge to find somebody as wonderful as me to keep his beautiful daughter, okay? That might have been kind of hard, actually, Well, he came back the next day, and he had a job, and he had a place to live, okay? He walked out there on faith. He walked out there knowing that it was his if he claimed it and stood clearly in that awareness. And it showed up in his world, just like that. It's amazing. There isn't anything you can't do, okay? There isn't anyone you can't be. There isn't any way you can't be if you decide you will be that. There is no place where God stops. There's no place where we get dropped. And as the saying goes, God ain't going to walk any further with us. The other saying is true, those footprints. Most of the time in my life, I think there's only one. Okay? There's only one set. There's something dragging me around, picking me up, hauling me out of the trenches. The trenches might just be the mental state I'm in, like Luke mentioned. Yeah. And so now here's one that I know you all love and you believe, okay? How good looking and fun you always are. Do you know that? Okay? Have you ever looked at a group of people? Have you ever looked around a room and gone, oh my God, that person's like ugly, I can't stand it, okay? But you know what? You do that to yourself all the time, okay? You get out of the mirror before you put clothes on and you go, oh, Mother of God, what happened here? Okay? This is not a pretty sight. Turn quick, please, put the glasses on, okay? Or you're, like some of us going, this is a perfect body when really, you look more like Maxine, okay? I'm kidding though. We're all really cute. You know that we're all really absolutely darling in the eyes of what brought us here, in the eyes of what lives through us, okay? I have seen people's faces change. I have seen people get younger. I have seen them get lighter, not in weight, in beingness, okay? Because they moved into a deeper alignment with who they are. You cannot not be beautiful, okay? When you are living from that God stuff, living from that centered place. You're darling. And if you don't think you're darling, then I challenge you to go home today and do whatever you have to do to find your baby pictures, okay? I came into this world weighing 2.5 pounds, and I got to tell you, hairless rat, really, okay, it weren't pretty. It weren't too pretty, okay, it's about that big, and it screamed all the time, okay, and it was trying hard as I'll get at to not live, I think, okay, yeah. There's beauty in everything. There's beauty in everything. Even the rat you find in your kitchen, there's beauty everywhere. And you're darling. Look in the mirror and tell yourself, I am so absolutely, absolutely knock the doors off the building cute. Okay? Beautiful. The second to the last one, and we kind of visited this, how much guidance they received whenever they asked for help. Just listen. Just listen. For years, I'm talking like decades, I followed that thing because I believed it. That old spiritual adage that says the answers are within. They are. They are. Now it helps if you have a friend, like an iPhone, or a mentor, or a sponsor, or a practitioner like Carol, or somebody somewhere that can help you find the switch if you are feeling like you are in the dark. But notice I didn't say are in the dark, because we never really are. And the guidance we need is always there. We have only to open to it and then listen. I love the idea of journaling our prayers, of putting in writing, this is what I need your help with. This is what I need universal mind to show up, okay? This is how I need it to be. I don't know how to make $1 million, but by God, others can have, and if they can, I can too, okay? I don't know how to cure a disease, but others have, and if they can, I can too. The brilliance that was Steve Jobs, or is Bill Gates, okay, or has been Mother Teresa, all you have to do is attune to that, and then listen. And it will talk to you the same way it did to them, the same way it does to people like Neil Donald Walsh, okay, and Annie Sims, who was so clear with us a couple weeks ago in her workshop about how we can have a conversation with God. That guidance is always there. You just ask, and then shut up. I love it. Yeah. And then number one, and this is what got me. When I read the final one, I was like, yeah, we got to talk about this. This is the way they say it. That God was alive in everything, including themselves. You ain't bad. You ain't done nothing wrong. You couldn't make a life-wrenching mistake if you had to, in the eyes of what brought you here. There's no path away from. There's only a path. All paths lead to the divine. Some of you have watched. I like the crooked one, apparently. Yeah, I know I have friends in this room. We get it in this teaching. The rock, absolute bottom here is that God is what we are. That we are its expression. It can't be any other way. It doesn't have any other venue. There isn't something out there. There's something everywhere. That God stuff is everywhere. It's within every one of us. It's in the ones who pick up the guns. And it's in the ones who accept the bullet. And it's in the bullet. Ram Dass made a statement years ago. He was just a little boy. And he was watching his mom feed his brother or sister, I don't know which it was in a high chair and was giving the baby a drink of milk. And Ram Dass said, it's like God, giving God to God. You can't get outside of this. Bidden or not, it is present. You can't run away from it. There's no place to go. You can't do something outside of its power to love you. There is no place where God is not. Sometimes it's easier for us to look around and see that God stuff in something else. In the beauty, as was mentioned, of a flower. I went yesterday morning on my way here to the Boris workshop to Walmart and got flowers and plunked them in water and then dumped out the water at the end of the day and took them home, put them in more water and dumped out that water and put them in more water and cut them and, spruced them all up and brought them in here this morning so we could have them to share. To me, I think nature is one of the most fulfilling ways for me to find beauty. When I can't find it here, when I can't find it outside of me, then I use the tools I was given. I use my eyes to look around, even if it's nothing that speaks to me any more than Katie's beautiful pink shirt, okay, or Marcia's blue eyes, or the God that I see looking back at me every Sunday when I stand up here, okay? There's no place where that stuff is not. Don't you believe that lie, okay? Don't you believe that lie. You come back and you hear and you change the parts of you that still think that maybe God doesn't live here. Maybe God wouldn't. So go from this place and know you're loved and live from a place of consciousness. We love you.